Alrighty folks, I'm Casey, and welcome on back to the 7 Days to Die Survival Guide. Today we are going to be taking a look at the traders. Traders are a very important part of 7 Days to Die, and you'll find yourself coming and going from these compounds all the time. And finally, we'll take a look at which POI is perfect for us here in the early game. So be sure to leave a like, hit subscribe, and without any further ado, let's get into the survival guide. And I'm going to start this episode off with something that I haven't shown yet that is self-explanatory, but you might find a little bit confusing, and this is the survival guide. We are going to continue our game. So what you're going to do is click continue if you want to continue your world, and here you'll see a complete list of all your worlds. Mine is the survival guide right here. I can see the world below it, and all of the settings that we were able to edit back in episode 1 are still here and ready to be edited again if we so desire. But we ain't going to do any of that. We're just going to simply click start. If you want to change your settings, by all means, go ahead. So you will always have a challenge that will send you to the trader once you complete them initial ones that we did in episode 2. But when you get to the trader, there's always something that I like to do. I like to come outside of the trader and I like to build this wood storage crate. And the great thing about this is it's very cheap, 10 wood. And this is like a crate that you can store. You can make a couple of these if you want. And you can put them onto your hotbar and then you can just simply right click to put them down. And there we go. We can put 2 down. You press E to open them. And this is storage. Now you can hold shift and click each item into the storage. Or you can go ahead and just click this icon right here, the 3 arrows down on the box. That's going to move every single item into the area. Now, this other one right here, this 1 arrow, is only going to move items that already exist within this storage. So you can see I've got polymer zombie, there's 1 polymer in here, but there's no stone in here. So if I click that, it's only going to move the polymers. So it makes organizing your chests a little bit easier. But we want to go ahead and stick everything in here. I do want my primitive hood. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I was encumbered. I was completely filled up into the dark grey slots and I was beginning to move slow and drain my stamina a little bit quicker. And since the trader is somewhere we are going to be coming regularly, we are going to be doing a lot of missions here. We will find ourselves at the trader quite a lot throughout this playthrough. It is incredibly useful just to even have a couple of crates down outside. Now there's one more thing that we're going to put down. And for this, what you're going to need is a handful of plant fibers. Because what we want to craft is called a bed roll. And this bed roll is useful in 2 different ways. The first way that it's actually useful in 3 different ways, but we won't really be making use of it. We can go ahead and put that down. So this will claim a little bit of territory for you, about 45 blocks in each direction, so that you are safe. Also, when you stand on top of your bedroll and you don't have full health, it actually recovers you a little bit of health. In addition to that, if we were to die, we would have the ability to respawn on our bedroll. So it's always good to keep a bedroll down near your storage, especially if you were to die in a POI that's got a bunch of Zeds in it. Instead of respawning at your backpack, you can respawn here on the bedroll, grab some more weapons and armor, and go out and get your stuff. But either way, we want to head into the trader. Now this game has 5 different traders and there's a unique trader for each of the biomes. There's actually a secret trader, the mechanic trader, that sometimes crops up. I've seen him about here and there. But we're going to focus on just wrecked right now. Now when you're inside of like trader wrecked compound, you're going to find that you can't actually break or mine anything. Even simple things like cryanthiums, it's not going to let you mine. So what can you do here? Well, this has a few different reasons. If you're playing on a multiplayer server, you can rent a vending machine to be able to sell to other players on the server. You can also buy one, but we're not going to worry too much about that. There's also a bunch of loot containers around the base, and these do kind of vary on what you'll find and where they are, but there are a couple of guaranteed ones that we are going to be taking a look at that are incredibly useful. There's always some cars knocking about. Another thing to note while we're here is there's doors on each of the 4 sides. Now you can open the doors, go through them, but Zeds, they cannot get in. So if you're ever playing in a multiplayer world and you need to use the toilet, you can always jump in the trader and you should be safe. He'll just be wailing on this door forevermore. He won't get in. Unlike where our base is, where he can break down our doors. These ones have stupendous hitboxes and they cannot be destroyed. Now, when you're looting this compound, I always like to start from where the vending machines are, work my way around in sort of an anti-clockwise direction, because you are going to come across this. This is a destroyed forge. This is a good drop for the forge ahead. You're very likely to get one right here, and we're going to go ahead and read that. That puts us 3. We are after 10 of those in the early game to be able to make our own workbench. These are 2 of the utility items that we are going to need. We are going to need a forge. We are going to need a workbench. You unlock the forge first, then you unlock the workbench. The forge is unlocked with 5 forge ahead books read, and the workbench 10. This is going to allow us to make all sorts of metals, iron and steel, along with stronger crossbow and iron arrow tips, and various other things that we are going to need throughout the entire playthrough. It's very important to have at least a couple of these forges within your base. Likewise, we are going to need a few of these workbenches, because some things, like if we were to look at the armor, the raider gear for example, it's locked right now, but we need a workbench, I believe, to craft the raider gear. I'm going to have to double check if it still needs the workbench. I could be wrong on that one. But we're going to continue around in the anti-clockwise motion. There's also a farming vehicle here that you can go ahead and search. We got some cornmeal and some goldenrod seeds out of there. There's another one right here. Sometimes these are lootable, other times they're not. So just be careful. Just make sure, it might not be. Oh, we got a vehicle adventure magazine. We also got the cigar mod. Words cannot be difficult. So what I can do is I can go ahead and modify my primitive hood. So if we press the tab key to bring this up, and we click our character right here, you can see, I should be wearing my primitive hood. I took it off for the intro clip. You can see all of our armor here. And if we were to click a piece of armor, we can click the modify button. This allows us to modify the armor with modifications. So if we click modify, you can see it's got 1 modification slot. Now anything with these like 2 gears on it, like this cigar that we've just found, is considered a mod. And some mods go on armor, some mods go on weapons, some go on tools, some go on very specific weapons. And you'll know whether or not it goes on the item that you're trying to put it on, because as you can see, we're in the mod slots for the primitive hood, and we've got the green gears right here, which means we can put it on. Now, if we look at this, strength +1, bartering +10%. So that's going to increase our strength by 1, which should mean that if we were to go to our skills right here and click strength, you can see that the number is now green and 2. If it is green and not white, then that means it is enhanced by an item that we've got on us. If we were to go ahead and take it off, we would lose that 1. And if we were to buy any perk points that require 2, does this one require 2? Yeah. So if we had this, for example, with strength level 2, and we were then to go ahead and take that cigar off, even though we still bought this would no longer be activated. We would need to get this back up to level 2 to be able to use number 2 within Miner 69er. Now, this doesn't just increase it to 2. If we were to spend a point in here and go to 2 ourselves, then this would bump it up to 3. And this is really good for things like when you start to get later on, because later on it takes 3 skill points just to go up 1 level and 2. And if you only need that 1, like to get full in Miner 69er here, you need strength level 7 and motherload strength level 7. And these are great if you're into base building and you want to gather a lot of resources. But obviously, that level 7 is 2 skill points. And in the early game, it's going to be difficult. We're looking at about 10 skill points just to get up to here. So this will obviously save you 2 levels, at least temporarily. And then you can go ahead and put those into Miner 69er and motherload, or whichever skills that you're going down. Now, there are a couple of other things here to loot. There's the chemistry station. This is always good. We got some gunpowder out of that. You can sometimes get a forge ahead in there as well. Now, there may be other little things sort of dotted around, like some trash that I'm not covering. I'm not going to go over every loot container here, just the important ones. But out the back here, we've got a cement mixer, and we know these are a guaranteed drop for the forger heads. That's 4 forger head booked, and we found 2 of those here at Trader X compounds, meaning we only need 1 more for the forge. Now, the last thing that I like to showcase here is these 2 cabins over here. If you were to go into them, one of them always has a food pile on one of the tables, and that's going to get us all Home Cooking Weekly Blackstrap coffee. This is great for stamina regen, and a can of pasta. So we get a little bit of food there, a little bit of hydration. These are just so useful. Now, I've never found 2, but I suppose it is possible because it's kind of random which one that food pile ends up in. But the time is getting away from us, so we're going to head into the trader now. Now, inside, there are some more loot containers that we can go ahead and grab. There are sometimes a bit of rubbish back there. You can also go ahead and go up here. And there's sometimes a wine, sort of alcoholic beverage back here. We've got a murky water out here. Again, there's just some rotten trash. I mean, that's good for leather. There's a nightstand here. You can sometimes find some cloth in here, but we got leather. Oh, I mean, I thought I jumped over there. And, you know, there are little other things dotted around, like spoiled trash, but nothing that's going to be too major. We're going to look at a couple of things. He's happy. Now, I'm going to talk about 3 things within here. First of all, the vending machines. You could buy some really cool buffs here. We're kind of looking at these bottom 3. Learning Elixir is going to give you an XP gain. Awesome Sauce is going to give you bartering. And Moonshine is going to mean that you are harder to take out and you deal more damage. These are really good to get, even though they don't really last all that long. The Learning Elixir does, but that's good to pop on Horde Night. Whereas Awesome Sauce and Moonshine, they're kind of as and when. And then you've also got the vending machines here. And you can get some soups and some cans from here, but we're more bothered about the candies. Right now it's only showing us 3 candies. These restock every single day, but the candies are incredibly useful. We've got the rock busters that boost our mining. There's hackers that boost our salvage. There's candies for quite a lot of different things. Now don't worry too much about these vending machines. I'm just giving you a overview right now. We will cover them more when we've got dukes to spend, because dukes are the currency. Now we'll move on to the second and third thing. Trade Direct. On this channel, I post Minecraft. And Minecraft, I consider to be a kid's game, whereas 7 Days to Die is anywhere in that range, I suppose. But Wrecked has a filthy mouth. I've put the profanity filter on, unfortunately. I don't normally do that. But because I post Minecraft on this channel, and I know there are some kids that watch these videos, I just want to make sure that I'm not exposing them to Wrecked's filthy mouth, because he does curse and swear quite a lot. So, let's talk about Trade Direct. He is the first trader. If we were to speak to him, he is going to give us a quest reward for that journey to the settlement one. And for this, he's going to give us the most useful item within the game, which is the stone shovel. And again, it's just E to interact with the trader. Now, when we're talking to the trader, we've got a couple of options here. We've got mail to your inventory. This is where you can buy things from him. You can also sell things to him. Your sell price is up here. But we're not gonna worry too much about buying and selling just yet. We're going to look at this if you've got any special jobs. And this is going to bring up a list of missions. Now, to begin with, it's only 1 mission, and it's a special job. It's an introduction to missions. And missions are super important within 7 Days to Die, because the trader is always going to offer you 5 missions every single day. And by completing them, not only do we get fresh loot in the POIs that we visit, but we're also getting rewards from the trader, such as dukes. Sometimes you can get a bit of food, some magazines. They are incredibly useful to do, and I typically focus my looting around trader missions. But we're going to just focus on the first one first, which is a tier 1 intro buried supplies. We can just click that. We can click accept, and then we can press the M button to bring up our map. And we can sort of see on our map exactly where it is. It's just out back of Trade Direct. It's not too far. Likewise, we can go ahead and click our quests up here, which is this exclamation point. We can go ahead and click intro. If we don't see the compass icon there, we can press the compass icon there, and it'll put the compass icon right on it. And then that means when we sort of look in that direction, we'll know exactly where it is. So what we're going to do is head out of the traders. And like I said, there's a door on every side of the traders. So we can go out of the western door. We can open the gate. We can close the gate. And then we can head out in this direction. Now, do be a little bit careful, because you'll find zombies roaming in the open land right here. But after a little bit of time, you will eventually come across the site. And you'll know when you're in the location, because you'll see this flag right here. And there's a little icon on the flag that shows you what kind of mission it is. This is a man digging. We know this is a buried supplies mission. We can go ahead and press E to accept the quest. Now, if you were to do this at a POI, and we'll cover this a little bit later on in the episode, it would completely reset that POI and respawn all of the loot, all of the building, everything to do with that POI would be completely respawned. So now what we want to do is dig this treasure up. And you may be tempted to just go right in the center and start digging straight down. And while this is a good starting point, just remember that if you are trapped in a hole and you can't get out of the hole, zombies can get into it. So what I always like to do is dig a little bit of a rampway as I sort of dig down. Now, the treasure can be anywhere within this radius, anywhere within this circle, and it's never deeper than the stone layer. So when you're digging down, you'll get what's called clay soil layers right here, which is where we're getting those sort of green, gobbly, snotty balls. This is clay soil. This goes down like about 4 or 5 layers before we hit the stone. Once you're at the stone layer, you don't need to go any deeper. It's always spawned on the stone. It's never spawned below the stone. I've never seen it spawned, and I've got probably 500 plus hours into this game. So it's nice to always dig ourselves a little rampway down. Now, you can do a power attack with your shovel to make digging a little bit easier. And I think I've already found it there. You can see like that bit just isn't meeting properly. That's usually where the treasure is. Now, you did just hear like a ka-chunk noise, like the ka-ching noise. When you hear that, what that means is the radius is shrinking and putting it into more of the center of the radius, and you get a more focused idea on where to dig. Now, we're going to finish digging this out, and don't go grabbing the loot just yet, because there's a couple of things that I want to talk about when it comes to the buried supplies. Now, you won't see it too often on this first one, but when the circle does shrink and the radius becomes smaller, there is a chance that you will get a couple of zombies spawn. So you want to make sure that you're just listening out for them, you're hearing for where they are, and double check. I always like to just come back to the surface and have a quick look around. Getting stuck in a hole because you've dug straight down and getting 3 zombies pile on you in the early game is akin to committing suicide. It's very difficult to fight them off. We can see we've got one over there. And the reason I say not to grab this loot just yet is because we're going to snatch and we're going to grab. So we're going to press E to open it, and then we're going to immediately press R to grab it. Not taking chance to look. And the reason we're going to do that is because, as you can see, it has spawned a Z. When you grab the loot, there's a high chance that it's going to spawn a Z, and we do not want to be caught down there looking through our loot while we are dealing with a Z. Now, what we got from that is these white river supplies. We also got ourselves a sham sandwich. I think we got the rotten flesh, and we also got a murky water. So we got a little bit of food, a little bit of hydration, but they're not really worth using. They have a chance of dysentery, and I'll cover these in a moment. But I do want to try and make it back to the trader before he closes. The trader's opening hours are from about 4 o'clock, give or take a few minutes in the morning, till about 10 o'clock, give or take a few minutes in the evenings. So now we've got the treasure. We can go ahead and I don't need to be crouching. Oh, bird's nest. You do want to make sure you're keeping a lookout for these, because there's eggs and bacon later on are going to be so useful. And again, if you're hearing me say things that I haven't covered yet, that you're not sure about, like eggs and bacon, don't worry. I'm just giving you little things to sort of give you the chance to take your own initiative, but I am going to cover those in full detail when they become relevant. For example, eggs and bacon, we need food books. We need 10 of those before we can even make eggs and bacon. So there's no point in me covering it now. But I can tell you to start making sure you're collecting eggs in the meantime. Now, when you've completed the mission for the trader, he's going to give you an option right here. Now, this option is always the same for completing that first mission. Although mission rewards are typically random, except for when you complete different tiers. But we'll cover the tiers when we get closer to completing the first tier. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at our rewards, because what we're going to get is you're going to get some XP. You typically get some dukes, although this first one doesn't pay out in any dukes. Dukes are currency. Dukes is money within this game. You'll find something called old cash too. You just sell that. That's not actually really currency, but you can sell it to get currency out of it. What is used for exchanging of goods is dukes. They're like these Duke Casino coins. They actually look really pretty. I like them. But we're going to get these options here. You've got a couple of good options here. The pipe baton is always a good option. The pistol is another good one. But I always go with the machine gun early on. The shotgun isn't worth it. You may think, okay, powerful shotgun in my hand. I can one-shot a Z. It has actually only one shot in the chamber, and it's not enough to take out a Z. It's actually kind of weak. Same thing with the rifle. The rifle only shoots one bullet before you need to be reloading it. And these are tier 0 weapons. They're early game weapons. We are going to get much better weapons that have more in the chamber. However, the machine gun bundle actually comes with 15 bullets, and it can put all 15 into the mag. So it's a good in case of emergency gun to have. So we're going to go ahead and take that. And then we can click this, do you have any other jobs? And you'll see that we have a list of different jobs. Now, he's going to show us 5. And I'm going to cover these a little bit more in the morning, because right now we are getting on for about 7 o'clock. And we need to start looking for ourselves an actual base. But before we do, I have some ailments that are ailing me. You can see down here, I've got the little bubble of water and the little food icon here. This is telling me that I'm hungry and I'm thirsty. And if I take a look at my hunger and my thirsty bar down here, I'm also suffering from those ailments there. So what can we do about this? Well, if I go ahead and click this sort container button, this is going to sort my container. It typically sorts them into categories. It's pretty good. We want to make sure that we have the pipe machine gun bundle on us, and we'll open that in a moment. We can take a look. So we've got blackstrap coffee. This is going to give me water. So you want to make sure you're on this stats one and not this description one right here. The description is just going to tell you about the item. We want to make sure we are on the stats, which is like this kind of graph right here, or the Wi-Fi symbol. And it's going to tell us exactly what it does. Water, it's going to give us 24 water. So if we take a look at our character over here, and we click our core stats right here, we can see our food and our water here. So it's going to add 24. Now you're going to get this come up, this icon telling you are hungry and thirsty, and also get the negative effect. Look, your maximum stamina is lowered by 13.3, and also your maximum stamina is lowered by 6.6, and it's going to be recovering slowly. So these are going to affect us. These are only going to affect us so long as our food and water is below 50%. So if we can bring it above 50%, we aren't going to suffer from either of those. And that number that we saw, that 24 from that blackstrap coffee, is going to add on to this water. It just took down to 43 there. But blackstrap coffee, okay, that's 24 water, but it's also going to give me this stamina regen 25%. And I would rather keep that for when I'm doing a POI, or when I've got a horde of zombies and I need the extra stamina. So what else have we got? We've got some murky water. This is going to give us 10 water. Stamina regen 15%. It's going to lower our health by 5%. So we don't want to be drinking that. It also gives us a chance of dysentery. If we get dysentery, we got a 12% chance of contracting dysentery from murky water. If we get dysentery, well, we're going to be pooping a lot, and that's going to be very bad for our hunger and our hydration. Likewise, the sham sandwich, which is food, is going to do the exact same thing. Now, I do happen to have this water on me right here, and the water is 20 water, and there's no health penalty, there's no chance of dysentery, so we'll go ahead and we'll drink that, and that should cover us for the foreseeable future. Now, there are ways to turn murky water into regular water, and we'll get into that momentarily. But what about food? So tins are a great source of early game food. You're going to find these quite a lot, even if you don't want to eat the cat food. And some of them, like these pears, for example, actually come with a little bit of water. So when you drink like we just drank, it does take a little bit. Your bar goes up very, very slowly as the number ticks down over here. And we'll get another look at that when I go ahead and I eat these pears. You'll see that we get some icons come up over here in the lower left-hand side. We've got the hydration one. So my hydration is going to go up 1 per second that is on. Hunger is going to go up 1 per second that is on. And my health is going to go up 1 per second while that is on. And so it's not an instant recovery. You don't instantly eat it and all of a sudden you've got a ridiculous amount of food. It goes up in seconds. So we're going to also go ahead and we're going to pop the cat food. And that should top us off on food. I'm hoping, like it gives us 9 food. We should see this icon disappear in a short while. Hopefully, I might need to eat one more. Yeah, there we go. We've topped it up. So, I always like to focus on just keeping my food above 50% rather than keeping it completely full in the early game. Otherwise, you end up finding out that you're just struggling for food and hydration if that's your main goal, to keep it constantly topped up. Now, let's turn our attention to the pipe machine bundle. This is wrapped up, so we need to open it. You can press the open button here, or you can press A, and that's going to give us a pipe machine gun and some 7.62 ammo. Now, likewise, like I did with the stone arrows, I'm going to lock a slot down here, and I'm going to put my 7.62s there. And I'm also going to move it onto my hotbar right here next to my primitive bow. And I can press R to reload the gun, and there we go. 15 bullets in the chamber. It's not super strong, but it should see us through. Now that we've gone ahead and taken care of that, we can explore a bit of the landscape within 7 days. And you'll notice that the Trader Rect, or actually all of the traders, are on the edge of a city. If we press M, you can see that the road that we came down was from up here. But if we were to keep on going this way, we would enter into the city. Now, the world of 7 Days to Die is broken down into 3 distinctive sets. You've got towns like what we are on the border of here, and then you've got full-blown cities, complete with skyscrapers and tier 7 buildings with loot for the taking. So now we've looked at our first mission with the trader, and we'll look more in detail at the rest of his missions in the next adventure, and we'll look at which buildings you want to be looting. But right now it's starting to get late on the first day. And if you've been a bit slower than I am getting here, then it could even be night. And we do not want to be exploring the city and the town in the dead of night. The darkness is not good for us. So we want to start finding where we are going to put down our first base. And there are lots of different options that you've got available to you within the city. But buildings themselves aren't random. You may think every building has the chance of every loot. That's not entirely certain. For example, we've got the Moe's Grocery here. This is a great source of food, and you can even get yourself a couple of forager heads out of the cement mixer round back. So we don't want to take a POI like this, because this is going to be useful to be doing missions at so that we can get that early game food. So I'm going to say a no to the Moe's Grocery there, because we want to look for something that is fortified. Zombies always pathfind to the path of least resistance, meaning a place like this that's got a fence going all the way around it and just one singular entrance. It means we are going to know exactly where our zombies are coming from. They're going to be coming through the path of least resistance, which is the open gateway here. And this is a nice place, but did you see that? Look at the tier that we've got. We've got a 4-star tier. We definitely... Oh, geez. Doggy. These are a nightmare in the early game. They can so easily infect you. Like I said, we only just stepped foot in there. And already, we were hounded by a dog and a vulture. So, doing the Mortician's house, again, we are going to say no to it. So, what location is good for the early game? And there are no true right or wrong answers here. You can take whichever base you feel fits your needs. If you want to risk that, go for it. Maybe we take that as our long-term base later on. But there are a couple of things that I always try to stay true to. One, the trader. The trader is going to be super important for us in the early game. Actually, it's going to be important to us throughout the entire game. He can send us to missions where we can get loot, and we definitely want to make sure that we are doing that rather than just going out looting random locations. Even though you totally can go and loot random locations, the trader is so useful. So we want to make sure that we are somewhat close. But we don't have to be on his doorstep. We also need to find a good POI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down by the Moe's Groceries right here, and I'm going to go for this building that's right at the end of the street. And I do strongly advise picking up every single loot container that you find along the way, bags and whatnot. There are a couple of houses here if you would like or prefer a house with a bit more space. But I do warn you with residents, sometimes the floors are a little bit creaky and you fall through them. And we'll cover those more when we do the missions in the next adventure. But the reason that I've chosen this location is because it is completely walled in. So we know exactly where the Zeds, you know, right at the end of this road here to the left is that Moe's Groceries. It's just there, that Moe's Groceries. You can just about see it right there. So we aren't too far from the trader. In fact, if I sort of shimmy over here, yeah, we can see the trader's barn right there. So we are insanely close to the trader. And this is a place that I have chosen. This is a crypt. It might not be that appealing. It might not look nice. We don't have a lot of space to work with inside. But we do have that walled perimeter so that we are safe from all of the Zeds. And we can totally clear out all of this area. And the vast majority of this base, you want to make sure that you're looking around for your Zeds first though. But the vast majority of the Zeds within this base are actually underground. So aside from that singular Zed... Oh, hang on a minute, I see that. I looked around here and I didn't see you. You were hiding. Okay. So apart from a couple of Zeds up top here, and we've got a couple more back there hiding behind the crypt. But we can take out these. They're not ferals, they're just regular Zeds. We can even do the sneak damage to get more damage on them. But I'm just going to batter them with a club. There we go. Look, it takes a couple of hits. The club's doing a lot of the work for us. The main bulk of the Zeds are going to be down throughout this door and underground. So what that means is, even though this is a tier 2 base, we don't actually need to clear it completely out just yet. But I am going to start breaking down some of the area because I need to figure out... Oh, that's concrete. I need to figure out exactly where I'm going to put our storage. I think maybe a little bit of storage over here. Do I have any wood? Yes, so I can go ahead and make up just the one now because I want to get all our storage moved over here. So we can go ahead. Oh, that doesn't fit up flush against that. But you know what? I'm okay with that. So now that we've got our storage down, I'm going to go ahead and chuck everything in here. I'm going to run back over to the trader. I'm going to grab all of those goods there and bring them over here too. So back over here at the trader, we can pick up the bedroll. If we were to old E on the wooden crate, we'd get a bunch of options, but none of these allow us to actually pick up the wooden crate. So unfortunately, we are somewhat stuck with leaving those wooden crates there. We can destroy them if we so desire. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave them here outside the trader so that when we're doing missions, we can drop our stuff here and we don't have to keep going back home every single time. But a couple of these commands, you've got the search, which just basically opens it up. And I'm holding he, not pressing he here. You've got the lock. What this does is it means that you can access the crate, but nobody else can. So it's not going to allow other people that you're playing with to access the crate. You can have a code, which you can then put in a code. And what that's going to mean is that if somebody does want to access this crate, they need the code. So you can trust certain people. But we're going to go and unlock it. Then you can also press edit to put whatever you want in the set text box, and that is displayed on all four sides. Right, now I've got all of my gear. I am encumbered, but I do want to drag it back to that crypt. Now, as I'm heading back to the base, there are a couple of things that I want to cover. First of all, yes, we are doing a lot of walking and running at the moment. This isn't the only source of transport throughout the game. We will get a bicycle so that we can, well, a push bicycle so that we can ride ourselves all across the world. But we'll also get a mini bike, then a motorcycle, then a 4x4 truck, and lastly, a gyrocopter. But there is another thing that I want to touch on. A lot of these residents have mailboxes outside, and mailboxes are a great source of books. Look at this. Power attacks with clubs have a 20% chance to ragdoll enemies. That's actually really good considering that we are using clubs. Now, you'll know if the mailbox has something inside of it because the container is open like this if it doesn't. So if we were to head over here, we can see that the mailbox is shut. Now, most containers within the game have a different look to them when they've got loot in them to when they don't. So you'll be able to identify which containers do. Wasteland Treasure Volume 1. I learned a little trick on how to get some when harvesting trees. So I found out honey is a natural antibiotic and cures most of the nasty infections you can get these days. That's a really good one to get. Now, you may have just got paper out of these, or you may have got two completely different books. We've got some really good ones. That means that when we chop trees down, just regular trees, that there is a chance that we'll get some honey. And honey is the best early game antibiotic in the game. And to be fair, I even use it late game. I mean, it doesn't cure as much as antibiotics, but you typically end up having a ridiculous amount of honey anyway. So it's completely viable just to use that. So I always like to organize my chests, at least having these three. So I have my resources right here, which is where I will throw things like the rotten flesh, the armor parts, the bones, resources that I'm going to be using when crafting certain things up. So I typically like to have all of these available in one chest, just like that. Then I've got my medical chest over here where I can throw all of my medical stuff. I even throw my little buffs in here too, like my blackstrap coffee, because that's more of a buff, I think, than actual food and hydration. Although you can totally put it in with food and hydration. Then I throw my seeds in with my food and hydration, along with everything else that is considered food, edible, or hydration. So I can see here exactly what we've got. We are a tad on the thirsty side, so I want to be careful. Oh, I've accidentally put my 7.62s away. No, I haven't put them away. I put them into the gun. That was right. They've gone into here. Because when you put them into the gun, it removes them from, it moves whatever you put into the gun from whatever stack you've got on you. So there we go. We are now moved in. There is a casket up here to search too. Now, a lot of things can be mined for resources like this. We can get cloth out of that, which is great. We can also pick up these folding chairs, get them out of the way. It is night, and I don't really feel like going out and looting this late at night. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spend the rest of my night and evening just sort of clearing out a lot of the debris around the base, a lot of these bushes. So we've got wide open spaces. I can see what we're doing. Oh, like that. Look, we found a weathered sports bag back here. Sewing kit and a piece of leather. That was it. That was it. And I plan to do that between episodes, but for right now, there is one more thing that we can do. First of all, we can throw down our bedroll. I'm actually going to throw my bedroll down in the crypt itself, right up here, into the little, like, chapel thing. Then what we can do is we can craft something called a land claim block, which is this thing right here. This is going to secure our perimeter and ensure that zombies don't spawn within it. So we can go ahead and we put that down, and you can see that it's got the nice little green box going all the way around. You can press E on this thing to bring that green box up, and that green box will stay up permanently. And so you can sort of like kind of go out and visualize just how far of an area that you've got. And then you can turn it off. And while that boundary is still in effect, zombies won't spawn within it, and it is claimed for us. It does mean that you don't have to deal with looking at that green all the time. Now, be warned, any zombies that are spawned already within this box will still be there. So those within that crypt, they are still going to be down there, and there's not really much we can do about that without going down there and clearing them out. But with our current situation with hydration, I don't really want to risk it just yet. So there we have it. We have looked at how to terrify young children with glowing orange eyes. We have taken on the first trader mission, and we have successfully retrieved the first buried supplies. We've taken our very first base and secured it. We've looked at food and hydration, and in the next adventure we're going to look more at how to secure better food and hydration, how to make sure that we've got enough to keep us through the early game. But more importantly, we're going to be looking at trader missions and which places to go and loot first, which places are best to loot, and where we should be aiming and what we need to be obtaining. But that's going to do it for this episode. If you are enjoying the survival guide so far, make sure you leave it a like, hit subscribe, even consider becoming a channel member. I won't say no. But as always, I'm Casey. You are the awesome folks. Thank you so much for watching. Now you guys take care, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.